Test, 1, 2.
Test.
Testing.
I'd like to call to order the October 20th meeting of the Geneva Area City Board of Education. I see a lot of red, both in the auditorium and on the stage. I'll tell you why I am wearing red. I'm here in this seat on this board wearing red because I want the students of the Geneva school system to be the best educated kids in the county. I want high test scores. I want them to receive a ton of scholarships. I want them to graduate with high hopes and at least an inkling of what they want for their future. And I would love it if some of them thought they would like to teach others because their experience was so rewarding to them that they want to pay back what they received during their school years. I think you can agree that we do have the same basic goals. With that, roll call, Mr. Lillie.
Mr. Arndt,
Present.
Mr. Dana,
Here.
Ms. Fisher,
Here.
Mrs. Metzler,
Here.
and Mrs. Ortiz.
Present.
Are we in compliance?
Yes, we are.
Let's join for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is there any correspondence this week?
Yes, I received a number of correspondences on a variety of, or in a variety of formats from various stakeholders on different topics that have been forwarded to the appropriate individuals to address and/or I address them myself.
Agenda modifications.
Yes, there are a number of agenda modifications. Removal of number 5, the aquatic center use with Spire for competitions. This was removed because we are still working out some dates, or athletic department, I should say, is still working out some dates with Spire. There is an addition to 7F3 extracurriculars. There is an addition to 7F4 substitute teachers, an addition to 7F7 substitute secretary. There are a number of new items, the first being 7H regarding students. There is a new number 8 recommendation for a volunteer coach. A new number 9, a recommendation that the following director be hired. A new number 10, a recommendation to recognize the indoor track and field for the 21-22 season. A new number 11, a recommendation for a resolution for the contingency plan in response to Geneva Area Teachers Association 10-day strike notice of intent. And then lastly on the back, there is an old 8, 9, and 10 have now become 11, 12, and 13.
Thank you. Okay. In regards to negotiations with our teachers, which is why I'm guessing so many of you are here, we are all in this together as a district and as a community. The board serves the community as a whole, and we do our best to represent all stakeholders of the community, including when it comes time to collectively bargain with our employees. To that end, the board established certain parameters for its bargaining team in negotiations with our teachers. The parameters are as follows. Number 1, quality education for all students. The board has always placed an absolute priority on ensuring that all students in our community receive a quality education. Every student in our community, regardless of their own circumstances, deserves to receive the best education we have to offer. In addition to maximizing opportunities for students, quality education also means that we're committed to developing and improving our staff through meaningful evaluation of their performance. Fiscal responsibility is number 2. The board has an obligation to every member of this community to be fiscally responsible. Simply stated, we have to control costs. Given that employees' salaries and employee benefits make up over 74% of the district's general fund budget. We have to carefully consider how to manage these costs for the health of the district. Sound financial management is in the best interest of all the stakeholders, including our teachers. And number 3, recognition of the teachers through competitive compensation. Through these negotiations, the board wants to continue to provide our teachers a competitive salary and benefits package. Even though through the hard times, we managed to keep our teachers at the highest average teacher salary in the county for traditional districts. Our teachers have the opportunity to earn the highest salary in the county at the top end of our salary schedule, and we have always provided an excellent insurance benefits package. The board's parameters for these negotiations reflect our ongoing commitment to our teachers. Specifically, we have offered raises in each of the 3 years, and teachers will also receive their step increases each year they are eligible. We have also offered additional lump sum payments in exchange for the changes that we feel need to be made to evaluation procedures and to update the insurance plan. With our offer, our teachers will continue to be at the top of the county with regard to both pay and level of benefits, which is where the board wants them to be. Those are the parameters that the board has established for our bargaining team, and we will continue to pursue the objectives for our community. Likewise, the board and its negotiations team will continue to bargain fairly while addressing the interests of all stakeholders, including our valued teachers during these negotiations. With that said, it is time for the hearing of the public. According to board policy, the hearing of the public will be a maximum of 30 minutes. Each participant has 5 minutes. However, the shorter your comments, the greater number of participants can be heard. You will be timed and the mic will be cut off if necessary. Remember, you are being taped and will later be posted on the GHS YouTube. Please, no foul language or disparaging personal comments. Be respectful. The person with the microphone is the only one authorized to speak with no disruptions. There will be another hearing of the public after we conclude our monthly business. And remember, this is not a public meeting. It is a meeting of the board in public. Thank you. Now,
Good evening, everybody.
those who would like to speak, if you could line up in the aisle, keeping social distance, and please start by stating your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Zach Mansky. I live at 5092 Alva Avenue, Warren, Ohio.
We need it, Sally. We need everybody else to be quiet while somebody's speaking. Or we won't be able to hear anything.
Can we move
Yes.
the microphone up so he can, so we can hear, please? Thank you.
I'm the GATA, the Geneva Area Teachers Association president. I was hired approximately 20 years ago under Ron Donatone and enjoyed my time working for the school district. However, this year has been probably the most trying of my close to 20 years working for the school board. In the past 10 years, our union have worked with administration during lean financial times. We have taken the equivalent of 4 step freezes along with 4 years of 0% increases on our base salary, all the while insurance premiums and the cost of living have steadily gone up. We took those sacrifices because we knew it was what was best for the district and the community. We've always put the district, the community, and our students first. The teachers worked hand in hand with you to pass the first levy in the district in over 20 years. Again, for the betterment of this district and our students. Now, when the board has the finances to rebuild Geneva back to the best in the county, the new superintendent decides to pick a fight with the teachers and disrupt the education of our students. The superintendent and board are attempting to take away spousal insurance for all future teachers in this district. How can we attract the best teachers for our students if the board erodes the benefits below almost all surrounding school districts? She has mandated online learning at the same time as in-person learning. Not only was that against what the public was told at the August meeting, it is also against what the previous superintendent had planned and informed GATA leadership. He, just like almost every other school district in the state, saw how ineffective trying to teach online students and in-class students at the same time is for both the teachers and the students. To add insult to injury, the superintendent has decided to go backwards in bargaining and is demanding evaluation language that would paint a target on the back of everyone who is here standing up for what is right for our students. GATA does not want to stop educating our students. However, if the superintendent and board do not want to look out for the future of our students and our community, GATA is more than willing to stand up for them. We are passionate about education and ensuring that our students continue to receive a quality education in Geneva, and we will do what must be done to guarantee that tradition of excellence continues in the Geneva area city schools. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Michelle Craig. My address is 200 Cherrywood Circle, Geneva, Ohio. I'm a 1993 graduate of Geneva Area City Schools. I have been a public educator for 21 years. However, my most important title is that I am a mother. I am the mother to a 2021 graduate that now attends Miami University in Oxford, Ohio, a junior here at Geneva High School, and a 7th grader at Geneva Middle School. My husband and I made a choice 11 years ago to move our family back to Geneva, and quite honestly, I have questioned that decision more than once over these past 11 years. I come to you tonight with a scripted, prepared statement with questions at the end that I would like you to answer. I have done this so that I can attempt to fit into the confines that you have placed on our community tonight. Currently, our board owns a property in front of our high school that they purchased for a future board office. It sits empty. They sold the Eagle Street property and now pay rent on it. Now they will take our children's media center. This board, superintendent, and treasurer hide in executive sessions and make plans to spend monies that belong to our children. No more. COVID brought unprecedented times to all of us. There was no script for navigating a pandemic. However, when you know better, you do better. ESSER funds are there to supplement the well-being of our children, not to take our children's library to build a board office. How could we use that money? I have a list. Mental health and counseling services for both staff and students. Weekend food rations to supplement the 100% free breakfast and lunch program. Pay to play, music and choir fees, reinstate the 15+ groups and organizations that have been eliminated due to lack of funds. Create or increase budgets of GIs and drama department. A textbook series with consumables would be great for our middle school language arts program. New instruments and repair of existing ones, new band uniforms, online educators that are trained to teach and meet the needs of our children that require an online format. Professional development for this board. The Ohio School Board Association is a wealth of information. Summer learning, software, hardware, and connectivity supplies, teacher pay, hire librarians, hire educational aides to reduce classroom size and provide assistance to classroom teachers. Here are my questions. Number one, what are you going to do with the $7.6 million CARES Act funds and the $1.5 million in the ESSER funds and broadband grant? You didn't spend it on online teaching. Where is it going? Number two, what are you doing with nearly $3 million in building and improvement funds? Is this where the cost for the board office is coming from? Number three, why eliminate the high school library and media center? Are the middle school and elementary schools next? Why not use common sense and use the funds you now have to fund the items necessary? Bring back everything that you have cut that has enriched the students' experiences. Clubs, organizations, libraries with actual librarians. Start new ones, gifted and talented, STEM and other enrichments. Take care of the Maslow things. Have a proper online program. Meet kids where they are, because in my experience, that is best practice and a school district can employ, which will for sure derive the results that I should hope you would be seeking. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the interest of time, I will be brief. My name is Mark Winchell. I live at 1022 North Tote Road in Austinburg. I want to speak on behalf of the teachers. Predominantly, if you remember the 90s and early 2000s, Ohio was pumping out lots and lots of teachers. Some of those folks were graduating from Baldwin Wallace and Mount Union and Kent and John Carroll. We sent them to the Carolinas because there weren't enough jobs here available. In 2004, there were 200 applicants for the one K through 3 position that was available in the area, and that was at Jefferson. And 20 people got an interview. 200 applicants for a single job. I'd like to ask the building principals how many substitutes they have today. We're looking at a shrinking workforce. Ladies and gentlemen, and it's a serious issue. We don't have the substitutes. Where are those 22 and 23-year-old grads, those kids that went to those schools and came back to our district? If the teachers in the room remember her name, Helen Patrick, she gave you a phone call between 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, maybe 5 o'clock the following morning to require you to come in to sub. That was paying your dues. You showed up the following morning and you subbed. It was a competitive marketplace. It was difficult to get those subbing positions, and if you didn't show up, you weren't called back the next time. We don't have that competition. We're pulling title teachers on a daily basis to fill the needs of substitute positions. We have a workforce shortage. Again, I'm speaking on this because this is the only area that you'll probably hear from this evening I feel qualified to speak about. But with this national workforce shortage, we're seeing the labor market shrinking. Where are those 22 and 23-year-olds I talked about? But in the manufacturing sector right now today in Ashtabula County, we're seeing $2,000 and $3,000 signing bonuses paid. If anybody here was a server in the summers when you were in school, Old Firehouse Winery has a sign in front of it today that says we're paying a $750 signing bonus for servers. Did we ever think we'd see an economy where servers were given a $750 bonus to sign up? We have this shrinking workforce, and we need to attract the best and brightest. So one of the things I'm going to ask here tonight is how are we going to do that? I saw in your plan you're going to carve out the spousal insurance in the 22 and 23 school year. I implore you to reconsider that. If you are a 22 or 23-year-old, newly graduated from college, you're engaged, and your fiance and you are looking for a place to return, you want to come to Geneva because you graduated from here, you want to get a job working in your alma mater, and you have the choice to go to Jefferson or Madison or Riverside or Lakeside, and there's spousal insurance offered, why wouldn't you take that job? In this highly competitive market, we have to be able to attract those teachers. Additionally, if we have a trailing spouse, we're a 30-something, we went to the Carolinas, we're choosing to come back, maybe mom and dad got sick, grandma and grandpa passed away, we move back here, we say, oh, wouldn't it be great to coach at Geneva? Wouldn't it be great to teach at Geneva? Well, if the trailing spouse can't get provided insurance, maybe Madison's a better offer, or maybe Lakeside. Again, to be competitive, we have to have that benefits package. And listen, my family's all in, okay? So we get up at 5:15 every morning. I've got 3 kids in 3 different schools. I've got a high schooler, a middle schooler, and Austinburg Elementary. Additionally, my wife teaches at GPS. Of your 5 buildings, Winchell's occupy 80% of them on a daily basis. We are all in, guys, okay? And I speak to you passionately. I've coached, this past year, I've coached 42 youth sports teams in this community. Soccer and football and wrestling and basketball. How are you going to attract my family and the future generations? Because as of today, ladies and gentlemen, it's October 20th of 2021. A child born today realistically will not be taught by a majority of the teachers in this room. They're going to be taught by the next group of teachers. How are we going to attract and retain them if you're not willing to offer that insurance package? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jacob M. Kendall. I live at 827 Cox Drive in Geneva.
I'm sorry, can you repeat your name, please?
Jacob M. Kendall. I live at 827 Cox Drive in Geneva. I just have a few questions that I'm sure every student would love to know the answer to. So this plan to renovate the media center, which would use over $200,000 plus of the school's money, why did the student and faculty have no input in this decision? Is it true that there was plans for a STEM lab in the media center before your plan to renovate it? Is it also true that the school board owns the White House in front of the high school, located at 1331 South Ridge Road East, and is doing nothing with this building? And my last question is, why is no money being spent on the students when you've received an influx of over $7 million in COVID relief? That was all.
My name is Matt Ozinga. It's Ozinga. I am a Painesville Township resident and a teacher at Riverside Local Schools. So it seems like y'all have this on lockdown for the most part, so I don't need to waste a whole bunch of time telling them things that you already did. What is interesting to me is that having been a resident in a neighboring community for all my life, and being a teacher for the better portion of my life, and being involved in teaching stuff for the better portion of my life, you got your union stuff, you got your board stuff, and you get a new superintendent, and it's like, hey, new superintendent, let's come innovate and change things and do some awesomeness. And the district, and instead we get off the shelf a 40-year-old playbook on how to break the union's back as your first thing that you do when you're here. It's 100% awesome. And I just want to tell you all here, they can do what they want, but Geneva Area Teachers Association, we've been here, we've done this. It's hard, it's uncomfortable, you got a lot of questions. Understand this. There's not a whole lot of this going on around the state right now. It's not going to take a whole lot for a whole lot of people to support you. And if you haven't heard that yet, I will tell you for the first one, if you haven't, is that we got deep pockets at RLEA, and we are happy to help you out.
It's not on.
Here you go.
Let Tony.
Is it working? Here you
My name is G. Joseph Clusi. I live in 1507 Dadyville Road, Austinburg, Ohio. I'm also the CEA president at Conneaut. I'm here to support the teachers today. And all teachers in Conneaut are here to support the teachers today. I have a few questions as a Geneva taxpayer also. How can 6 out of the 7 districts in Ashtabula County settle a fair and good faith contract and Geneva can't do that? How can many of the districts, including my own, which our school board just voted today to give every single teacher, every single staff member except for the superintendent and treasurer, $500 stipend today. They voted on that to retain us, and thanks for having us stay in the district. How can Geneva School Board afford a $200,000 move to take away the media center for the kids who I pay taxes for here in Geneva? And how can you hire a superintendent who does not share the values of Ashtabula County or the Geneva residents with her lack of participation at the recent Ashtabula County retreat for all their superintendents? Thank you.
My name is Ava Van Buren Cush McCormick. I live at 225 Centennial Street, Geneva, Ohio. I'm a junior at Geneva High School, and I've gotten 50 students who petitioned for the media center in the high school to be made into something beneficial for the students or be restored to its original design. We, the students, are who the schools were built for. We are those who benefit from the education a school can provide. We are here to express our concern that the redistribution of resources and space will not contribute toward our education, but instead is only for the superintendent and the ones next to her coming in to make our school better. We, the students, have seen the numbers and the cost for this design. This design isn't strengthening our education or our teachers, who, by the way, shape us for the world outside of high school. We believe that this is not only an unnecessary addition to our school, but an awful subtraction of resources. $200,000 that magically appeared. They've been pushing for a STEM lab, but there was never any funds to support that. Where did this $200,000 come from if we didn't have it 2 months ago, 2 years ago, 2 decades ago? Respectfully, a school is not built for the superintendent to have a place to go and sit in comfort. That is our media center. It has so much more potential than a few offices and toilets. They have a building that sits empty. Parents, does that seem like something your kids can put to use to better their education? To better my education? My peers' education? How will this help? I know what this money could help. Funding towards special education classes. Mental health services. And in which a program dedicated just for eating disorders. And quite possibly a STEM lab. All these I've just listed to you. Now please take some action. Love, we the students.
James Miller, 106 Walnut Street. I'm here to show my support for the teachers, the staff, and the children that we are responsible of educating. I'm involved in the real estate business from the Miller Realty Company, and I show a lot of houses to people from outside the Geneva area. And one of the reasons they prioritize searching in Geneva is for the quality school system. So, if you would like to see real estate prices continue to climb and have better resale value on your house when you're ready to downsize or move on to something larger, I would implore you to support our teachers, support the staff, and support the best education possible for our students. Thank you.
My name is Cheryl Ramsey. I live in Geneva at 5551 Hummingbird Court. I am a 4th grade teacher at GPS, but I'm here tonight representing our teachers' union. I address the Geneva Area City Schools elected Board of Education and our superintendent. The community of Geneva deserves the very best from all of us. They depend on the leaders in the community to do what is best for them in the worst of times. During the pandemic, we were all called to face a storm like no other in the history of our community, state, country, and the world. We all rose to the occasion to continue educational services no matter what it took, despite the lack of any emergency planning for such an event, despite the obstacles we needed to navigate through to bring education to all of our students in any way we could. Why? Because we are the leaders that we were called to be when our community needed us most. So why are we here tonight? Because the leaders of our educational community, you, the elected leaders, must make some very important decisions about the teachers, students, and the families of your constituency. Will you lead? Will you be problem solvers and make the best decision for the community? Or will you be followers of Superintendent Treharn, who made the choice to live in another school district in another county? Someone who instead has created a storm that has led us all down a path that we should never have been forced to be on in the first place. Will the true colors of our Board of Education show after tonight's executive session? This is your call. We have placed our 4 issues in the proposed contract before you. Best practices for teaching and learning for all students. No teacher should have to teach a classroom full of students and an online student at the same time. These are not best practices. Our very own superintendent said that all students should be back in the classroom full-time for the best education possible. Are you telling those online students that they do not deserve the best? Keep spousal insurance options open to attract quality teachers to our district during this national teacher shortage, especially when they have the option to choose the district that provides their teachers with the respect that they deserve. No more increases to insurance costs that zero out or reduce any agreed upon salary increases in the first place. And now we are also having to ask you to go back to the original agreement on our evaluations. Students will only suffer if teacher morale is low due to the feeling that a target is or can be put on their back at any time for any reason. Our community looks to you to fix this and not allow the kind of angst stirred up by some power struggle that would demonstrate their authority in our hometown. We all serve this community. I urge you to make the choice that serves all of us. We deserve better. We expect you to deliver better.
Hello, my name is Michael King. I live in Geneva at 890 South Nearing Circle, and I am a student at the high school. I'm a senior this year. And I just want to say that after learning here for 4 years almost, there have been some amazing teachers here that have inspired me. They have made learning so much fun and made it enjoyable to just go to school. I look forward to going here. And so, because of this, I decided that I wanted to be a teacher when I'm older and to go into history teaching. Because I have had some amazing teachers, and I want to spread the joy that you can get out of learning, like those teachers have done with me. I want to be able to inspire kids the same way they did. And I would love to come back here and teach at my hometown because I love this place. But unfortunately, with what's happening with the cuts to spousal insurance and the increase of the insurance costs and all that, I couldn't see myself coming back here to teach, and it pains me to say that because I really do love this place. I've been in Geneva since the day I was born. It's my home, and I would love to be able to help kids in this area enjoy learning like I do. But I couldn't see myself ever teaching here if those changes are gonna stay. And I also want to bring up that I'm in the marching band and I'm in the drum line, and some of our drums, they could use some real replacing, and I just don't understand why we can't get the money for that, but we can get the money to remodel the library. And then, on the topic of the library, I know that I am in Quiz Bowl as well, and we used it. We would use it for our matches, and now we can't even go there because it is being turned into your office, and I just don't understand why. I just wish that Geneva would be known as a friendly, welcoming place to newer teachers, to students, and to everyone. And it's unfortunate that right now I don't think it would be known as that if these changes are kept. Thank you.
Okay, our half hour is up. It's time for us to get on to our normal business of meeting. We had a lot of noise going on also that took up a lot of time.
There is a second portion.
Huh?
There is a second portion.
There is another portion for speaking at the end of the meeting. So you're free to come up at that point and state your concerns. She will be allowed to speak at the end of our business. And we need to get on with our meeting now. Okay. Approval of minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Wait. Oh, wait.
I can't hear you.
I can't hear either.
We can't hear what.
He's supposed to read
Did
his
you
statement.
second or did Jamie?
Jamie.
Is this when you're reading that?
My turn.
Okay, your turn.
Good evening, everybody, and it's so nice to see so many people here. I don't know how many educators we got here, or how many community members and stakeholders that are here. But what I have to say here is some straight out facts, and I ask you to listen to these facts. These are not my opinions. These are not my thoughts. I didn't pull these off of Wikipedia or Google. These are facts, and they're to be shared with everybody in this room. So please, listen up. I didn't comment during any time that anybody else spoke, and I would ask you to respect when somebody up here is speaking. We have been trying to bargain fairly with the Geneva Area Teachers Association for months. We are seeking to provide a fair and reasonable contract for teachers while being physically responsible stewards for our community. The board, please, I ask you, the board offered teachers increases in each of the 3 years as well as steps. I'm going to say that again. The board offered the teachers increases in each of the 3 years as well as steps. The board asked for nominal increases in insurance coverages which are consistent with or above market standards. Geneva teachers have the second highest base salary of the 7 traditional public school districts in Ashtabula County. Geneva teachers have the second highest base salary of the 7 traditional public school districts in the county. Geneva teachers are at the highest amount at the top end of our salary index of any district in the county, including the ESC and ATEC. Geneva teachers have the highest average teacher salary in the county for traditional districts. Geneva teachers have the highest average teacher salary in the county for traditional districts. May I go on? Geneva area teachers, the average teacher makes $63,261. The average teacher in Geneva makes $63,261. The second highest is Buckeye Local. They make $61,000. Grand Valley Local. They make $61,400. Conneaut teachers make $61,000. Jefferson area teachers make $58,000. Ashtabula area make $58,000. Pymatuming Valley makes $52,000. That's $11,000 less per year. The board feels it is not in the best interest of the district or fiscally responsible to hire multiple teachers for 3 students learning in the online module in order to accommodate for the health concerns of our students. Thank you.
In response to a number of recent questions and misperceptions, the board would like to explain the concept of working spouse exclusion, oftentimes referred to as spousal carve-out, and how it relates to the GATA negotiations. What is a working spouse exclusion? A working spouse exclusion applies only to an employee whose spouse is eligible for insurance through the spouse's own employer or retirement plan. If an employee's spouse does not have access to insurance, either not employed or not eligible for benefits, then the spouse would remain on the district's plan. If the employee's spouse is eligible for benefits elsewhere, then the spouse would come off of the district plan and be covered by the insurance provided by his or her own employer or retirement program. Why do employers implement a working spouse exclusion? Employers, both in the public and private sector, implement a working spouse exclusion in an attempt to control growing healthcare costs. The working spouse exclusion is designed to remove claims from the district's insurance, which results in a benefit to both the employer and the employees in the plan. Better claims management often results in lower annual renewal rates, which means lower increases in what employees pay as their contributions for insurance. Do other school districts have a working spouse exclusion or utilize spousal limitations as part of managing their health care plan? Yes. According to the Ohio State Employment Relations Board, over 50% of school districts and ESCs in Ohio have implemented spousal restrictions as part of their health care programs. More specifically, over 25% of Ohio public employers with spousal restrictions stipulate that if an employee's spouse has medical coverage available through their employer, the spouse must use their employer's insurance as the primary form of coverage. What are the proposed parameters of the working spouse exclusion for GATA? If an employee's spouse is eligible to participate as a current employee or retiree in group health insurance, prescription health, dental, and/or vision insurance sponsored by his or her employer or any public retirement plan, the spouse must enroll in such employer or public retirement plan sponsored group insurance coverage. This required does not apply to any spouse who works less than 30 hours per week and is required to pay more than 50% of the single premium to participate in his or her employer's group health insurance coverage, prescription drug, dental, and/or vision insurance coverage.
Now we proceed? Yep. Okay, we need the approval of the minutes from the prior meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Arndt?
Yes.
Mr. Dana?
Yes.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Mrs. Metzler?
Yes.
And Mrs. Ortiz?
Yes.
Treasurer's financial report.
Moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Dana?
Yes.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Mrs. Metzler?
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz?
Yes.
And Mr. Arndt?
Yes.
Approval of invoices.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Mrs. Metzler?
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz?
Yes.
Mr. Arndt?
Yes.
And Mr. Dana?
Yes.
Informational items.
You have the investment report and you see a donation listed from an anonymous donor to the Denny Noble Outstanding Essay Award in memory of Dennis Noble.
Okay. The legislative report. On October 7th, I attended the ATEC Stakeholder and Advisory Committee dinner.
Sarah, legislative report.
Legislative report.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Thank you. There have been many hearings and sponsor testimony on bills related to deadlines for blended learning models submitted by districts, job descriptions for school counselors, training in ethics and open meetings and public records, voting membership change to the State Board of Education, telehealth services by school employees, age-appropriate instruction in child sexual abuse and sexual violence prevention, school CCP programs, and COVID-19 vaccines. During the first week of October, the General Assembly sent Senate Bill 1 to Governor DeWine for his approval. The bill would require students who enter the 9th grade for the first time on or after July 1st of 2022 to complete at least one half unit of instruction in the study of financial literacy. Additionally, the substitute version of the bill exempts teachers who have a valid educator license to teach social studies, family and consumer sciences, or business education from the financial literacy license validation requirement. The bill also allows districts to determine educational requirements for substitute teachers in the 21-22 school year. The applicants would still be subjected to a criminal records check. If DeWine signs the bill, the portions regarding the substitute teachers would go into effect immediately. And I'd like to take a few minutes to talk about House Bill 290, dubbed the backpack bill or the backtrack bill, as opponents are referring to it, because it would take the schools back to 1803 when there was no system of education in Ohio. If you recall, the bill calls for public school state education dollars, money from taxpayers in Ohio, to follow the student as opposed to funding the public school district for whom the money was appropriated or intended, even if the student's family chooses to enroll the student in a private or a charter school. Opponents to the bill explain that families would be able to fund their child's private education on the backs of all state taxpayers with state tax money intended for public school districts. Many times these are families that have never had their children enrolled in public schools and who have knowingly taken on the financial responsibility of a private school education for their children. They have afforded this path without public tax dollars, so why would the state choose to give the families money now? Supporters claim that local and federal dollars would remain untouched and in the districts that they are intended to fund, and that just the state tax money is affected. But that money amounts to billions, with a B, of dollars being taken away from our state's public education system and its over 600 public school districts, that many that are already not funded well enough. Sponsors of House Bill 290, which is currently pending in the House Finance Committee, held a press conference to provide details on the substitute version of the bill, which would establish educational savings accounts, ESAs, in the amount of $5,500 for K-8 students and $7,500 for 9 through 12 students. The program would be open to all students in the state, regardless of the family's income. The ESA would be administered through the state treasurer's office. Most interesting, or maybe the most infuriating part of this bill, is that it proposes that chartered or non-chartered, non-public schools that take part in this program are autonomous and are not an agent of the state or federal governments. The treasurer of the state cannot regulate the educational program, and the schools will be given, quote unquote, maximum freedom to provide for the education of their students. The opponents say, quote, House Bill 290 ensures that private schools remain autonomous and not subject to any new requirements. Hence, these institutions are essentially receiving gifts of tax money, your tax money, with absolutely no accountability to the taxpayers. The bill has not received a hearing from the House Finance Committee, and the substitute bill has not yet been accepted. The impact on the Fair School Funding Plan is currently unknown, but would likely be detrimental to further phase-in of the plan. Opponents are encouraging school districts and their families to contact their legislators to voice their concerns about how this bill will negatively impact their district's ability to educate their students. So in a nutshell, all of our public tax money that's taken from us by the state could be used to fund a private school education for any number of students in our state instead of going to our public school districts. In recently introduced legislation, House Bill 426 was introduced to require the placement of automatic external defibrillators, AEDs, in each public and chartered non-public school. House Bill 428 was set to establish the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study Commission. House Bill 435 to prohibit a school district from requiring a student or employee to receive a COVID-19 vaccine unless that vaccine has been granted final approval by the federal FDA. To establish exemptions for students and employees should that vaccine be required by a school or an employer, and establish restrictions and exemptions for public and private employers as they pertain to the vaccines. Now, this legislation has been fast-tracked. It was introduced to replace House Bill 248 in terms of trying to find common ground among the advocates and the opponents. It was met with criticism from both sides and has been referred back to the House Rules and Reference Committee, where it is currently pending. One issue is that student immunization requirements are prescribed by state law and required prior to enrollment in school. This legislation leaves the decision to mandate the vaccine up to each individual school across the state, allowing for disparate policies statewide. And finally, Senate Bill 233 was introduced to require the State Board of Education to adopt licensure rules for school nurses and school nurse wellness coordinators and require membership in the state retirement system. Thank you.
Will you send us a copy of that?
Absolutely, I send it every month.
Okay.
House Bill 290, you mentioned who the sponsors were of that. Who were the sponsors, or?
I did not mention who they were,
But we're talking about, you said it was $5,400 to $7,500 that could be lost per student, is that right? Or?
$5,500 for K through 8, 75, 9 through 12.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
You know, somebody told me several years ago that there was a move out to get rid of public schools. And it certainly looks like this Bill 290 is a big step in getting rid of public schools by taking our funding and giving it to private schools, charter schools. We're not going to be able to keep our doors open if this type of thing it continues to be sitting in our legislature. And quite frankly, I'm very, very uncomfortable having an axe like that hanging over our necks, especially in times that are so confusing. So one more step toward getting rid of public schools. The ATEC report. On October 7th, I attended the ATEC Stakeholder and Advisory Committee dinner at the ATEC cafeteria. The dinner is held yearly to get the advisors and the instructors of the various disciplines together with industry partners to evaluate how the programs are doing. The groups met in smaller sessions to discuss the nuts and bolts of their particular areas. We want to make sure that the programs are aligned with industry needs. What we are doing well and how we can improve to meet the needs of the employers are also discussed. Issues include new equipment that students need to master, new processes that should be on the agenda, and even new disciplines to add to the curriculum. At the present time, meat cutting and a CDL class are being discussed primarily for the adult education area. At our regular board meeting last Monday, 7 students in the horticulture program attended the meeting to let us know about their trip to the Hocking State Park. This event was put on by Ohio Forestry Career Development. It was a competition on their skills and knowledge, using basically just clipboards, pencils, rulers, and tape measures, and a non-programmable calculator. They had to identify 25 tree specimens by looking at leaves, bark, fruit, and twigs. They had 15 minutes to complete the task. They also had 15 minutes to identify 20 pieces of equipment from a list provided using their technical names, and they also had to measure trees and convert for the board foot volume. These are 3 of the tasks to be completed in the competition. We did not win any prizes, but since this was the first time we participated, the enthusiasm exhibited by the students while telling of their adventures let me know that this was a very worthwhile trip. The report of the superintendent.
So our administrators will provide a brief update from this past month and/or upcoming events. The first administrator that's going to speak is Kelly Porcello, Director of Student Services.
All right, hello. I gave you a report of the special ed numbers.
Hey, Tony.
It's my mask. So the special ed numbers, I thought it was important for us to see where the district is at. Overall, in special ed, we have, as of this morning, 452 active IEPs. We have, I believe, current number as of this evening is 18 initial ETRs in process. and 4 students have exited special education this school year so far. I also thought it was important to point out the amount of workload that our intervention specialists and our special ed teams have been doing since August 30th. We have conducted over 200 meetings. The next pages are our special ed rating. This came out last Wednesday, I believe. It looked good. There were 8 compliance indicators, and Geneva reported on 6 of them. Each of the indicators you can earn up to 4 points, and on all 6 indicators, we earned the 4 points that were necessary to move on. And I broke it down for you guys so that you can see what each of those indicators means. The other part that I reported on was the special ed profile. It's already a year old, from 2020-21 school year, but it actually reported data from 2019 to 2020. So it's a little bit dated information, but it's things that I like to look at and will help me build the program a little bit. So you could see that overall, on the 2021 profile, Geneva met 17 of the 27 indicators, with 2 of them to be determined, and those are the graduation rates at the end of the profile. The profile. One of the areas that the district is in the process of improving the percentages is alternate assessment. The state came out with a new framework in October that changes the flexibility with accepting kids into the alternate assessment program. So our numbers did increase almost an entire % from the previous profile, which is not what the state is looking for. Beyond that, you guys can read. I opened up the parts in the profile that we did not meet indicators for, so that you can see the numbers over the past few years. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. The next administrator will be Amy Brzenko, principal at Ostenburg.
Good evening. I put in front of you a BOE newsletter, if you will. It breaks down what we've been doing by date so far. Cork Elementary and Ostenburg Elementary on the 7th, we had a functional drill where we actually had the emergency services come. Our teachers were really fantastic ahead of this event. We changed where our tornado shelters would be located, and they practiced diligently to make sure the students were where they were supposed to be. This was like in a week's notice, so they really went above and beyond to make sure the students were there. And in fact, when the emergency services came, our chief said, "I didn't even know your kids were in the building." That's how good that it all went. So kudos to them for that. AESA, we've been doing a 5K run. We had pictures. We are just concluded the 3rd grade fall Ohio State testing. Mrs. Nappy, Mrs. Kozlakar, Mrs. Meehan, Mrs. Noble, they have been working diligently to get them where they need to be for the first testing site. We've had extended learning for the 3rd graders only in October. I've had Mrs. Howard and Mrs. Noble conducting those to help boost our scores. And as usual, we know that our K-2 team beforehand has really done their job to help them succeed the first time they pass. Also, we have Red Ribbon Week and a fall party coming up, trunk or treat. We have new extended learning in November, which will be concentrating on grades K-2. We have book fair, conferences, and Thanksgiving. We also do a food pantry. We are currently taking donations for that again this year. So far, we have over 150 items that we are prepared to give out to families that are in need. We also make a collection for the veterans that will be given to them as well. Mrs. Simmons worked on our kindness rocks, and on the back of my paper you can see we put the kindness rocks out front to remind the students when they come in and anyone else that comes in that we are working on our PBIS, and it's important to be kind. Our teachers have been working hard with their positive postcards. It's something that I asked them to do. They have been doing that. Families are receiving postcards in the mail for something positive that their students have done, or their children have done, I'm sorry. I also add a little note to that, and we mail them off, and we really get some good feedback from that, so thank you to them for that. Conferences are coming up in the fall. Again, here's all our dates and events if anyone would like to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Missy Doherty, principal at Cork.
Enact what we talked about on our radios. A severe storm's coming, and I thought we did a really good job. So and that's my first item and it's very important to us at Cork, our safety drills. We've done a couple functional ones, and again, I can say how well the students did because they did. It is so nice to have all the safety directors together. I'm not going to name everybody, I might miss somebody. But the key people as well are Tony Marcajon, he helps us so much. My safety guru, Elisa Schrader, Mrs. Bowser, head teacher, Officer Cooper was there. And so I think we were complimented as well. It all went smoothly. And it's not just about the procedures and where you're going to go and what you're going to do. It's really about the conversation that you have afterward. We did have a Zoom session with both Austinburg and Cork, and we just went through some issues that we were looking at. Cork is constantly looking at communication because that is an area that we do need to work on. But it was nice to everybody to get together, and I was kidding, but seriously, Amy and I were on the bus radios going back as if it was something really happening, and it was nice to see, to hear what we were doing, and again, the kids did a great job, the students. And I think the tornado was the perfect topic because I think we've had a couple severe storms lately, and so they are ready. Our after-school extended learning recovery is underway. We do have 2 teachers, so that limits our amount of students we can serve, but they are working on test prep. Yes, we did take our 3rd grade test yesterday and today, but they're still going to continue to work the rest of this month. The students get a snack, they play a little game, then they're practicing. They're not just practicing questions, but the teachers are modeling and answers as well. And then, if you don't mind, bear with me, can I read this? Because this is from our kindergarten class. Kindergarten studied apples the last 2 weeks of September through the first week in October. Types of apples, how they grow, process from being picked to being sold in a grocery store, career. Sampled different types of apples, red, green, yellow, and graphed the favorite. They also made applesauce. Mrs. Cinco's and Mrs. Ellis's class liked red apples the most. And then also they wanted to touch base on our PBIS as well. They are starting at the 1st grade with kindergarten, the very first year they're in school, with examples of our PACS leaders, bucket fillers in kindergarten. The students are learning how to self-regulate in order to make good choices. When students are caught being bucket fillers, PACS leaders, which goes along with PBIS, they earn a pom-pom for a class bucket, and then if they make a mistake, then the pom-pom comes out, and then it goes back and forth. But they're really modeling the behavior, and it really is to be positive. So, with the classroom family. And they did state, however, we always have the ability to turn our choices around for the better and earn a pom-pom again. And the classes are now working on filling their class buckets so the whole class can earn a reward. Of course, they get to pick, but it's according to teacher guidance, so they have it under control in there. And then now we're working on Veterans Day with Mrs. Stowell, some things coming up, PTO walkathon, fall parties and parade, and we do have parent-teacher conferences coming up, so thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Julie Gustin, principal at GPS.
Good evening. It's hard to believe we're already in October. The school year has gone by so fast, and the first quarter is almost over and here real soon, next Friday. So we did kick off our extended learning program this month at all the elementary schools. We did focus on 3rd grade only just because we are currently testing what we finished today, part 2 of the English Language Arts Assessment, and then we have makeup testing the next 3 days. So we really wanted to focus on some intensive interventions. We selected 35 students to invite. We only had 17 attend. I think some of that, I'd like my number higher, obviously, but we have limitations in terms of transportation. Parents are required to pick up each day after the 1-hour session twice a week. So the teachers have been diligently working with those students twice a week. I did meet with my building leadership team. My teachers meet with me once a month, and more often after school they volunteer their time, and we decided to bring in 4th and 5th grade between now and Christmas. So we did send out invitations for that this week. We should get those back by next week in order to make plans in November. We continue to work on our PBIS here at the elementary level. With COVID, we've noticed that a lot of our kids missed out on a lot of social time. So we find that we're teaching specific behaviors for specific settings a lot more than we did 2 years ago. So we've been meeting as a team every other week after school. We go through the state models in terms of the checkpoints, what we should have for specific areas. And we're analyzing our current practices with the state model, looking for where our gaps are, and we're trying to develop strategies for improvement. So we really focused on student recognition. So we did the Student of the Month. PTO sponsored it. So they got a certificate, a picture on social media if allowed, and an ice cream in the cafeteria. They love ice cream, all the students do. We are working with Mrs. Porcello and our team on bringing back the Eagle Box in the next couple weeks. And then we'll have a cart go around where the kids can make purchases that will go home with them right at the end of the day. And kids like to buy things, they like objects, and they're willing to work towards that. We also will be celebrating the traditional Red Ribbon Week next week, the national campaign. We have different activities throughout the week and spirit themes. And then that ends the week with our traditional Halloween parade, which we did not have last year due to COVID. So we're very excited to bring that back. By no means is this everything that's going on at GPS, but it's a small snapshot of the things that are going on. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have middle school principal Dave Riley.
Good evening, everyone. Much like my colleagues, we started the Extended Learning Lab this month of October. And through the criteria that's listed on your board agenda reports, there are the 12 different criteria. We did an extensive kind of search to find out which students really would benefit the most from the program. So we initially invited 64 students. I'm very pleased to say that when we sent home letters to those students, but we also made 64 phone calls. And the parents were very, very pleased that we were able to offer this type of a program. We've averaged anywhere from about 40 to 55 students each night. And I know this evening, when it was occurring this night, I typically go and get some snacks for the kids once a week, and as I was delivering them around the room, I think I counted about 35, almost 40 students. So that's good, and those students are coming repeatedly. Some may be just be coming one night a week, but most of them are coming 3 nights a week. So kudos to the staff for working through that. We also did the Restart Readiness Assessments at the end of September. That was another huge data point for us, and it's recommended by the state to kind of give us an idea of where the students are right now. The students took it very seriously, and that was good to see. So they kind of give us an idea of where they're at now and some gaps of knowledge that we can kind of work towards moving forward. So the BLT has been looking at that information, and again, it's been very, very helpful. We did an ATEC trip with the 8th graders just last week, and they had a chance to move around the building, and we were divided into 13 groups, so I believe they saw 13 programs. And while I was walking around with Stacy Zappatelli, she showed me virtually every program that's there, and only allowed me to be in the room for about 4 minutes apiece. So I was meeting all the instructors very quickly, even the rooms where our students were not going. So it was a nice opportunity for me to kind of get to know some of the staff up there and kind of what they do. The enrollment figures are there for you. We've gone up, as you can see, over the course of the month there. The upcoming events are listed there as well for you. I'd like to take a very quick moment to acknowledge 3 students, Brendan Fobel, Aaron Johnson, and Luke Schaefer, who are on our cross-country teams. We had a parent that reached out to us via email And we included this information in the Gazette, but I thought for the sake of everybody here this evening, I would read it. This really represents the type of students that we really want here in Geneva, and I truly believe that we have. The parent stated, as I quote, "These 3 young men cheered for every runner, every school, from first to last with equal encouragement and enthusiasm. They weren't clowning or sarcastic. Many parents were struck with the generosity and sincerity coming from middle schoolers of all people. These boys are examples of what has mostly been ignored or even shunned, kindness. And they represented your school district beautifully." So they were presented with a certificate by Mr. Malahan and myself. Their names in a little brief article would be in the local newspaper coming up here. And finally, I'd like to acknowledge the staff. It's my first go around here, first couple months in Geneva. It's been a phenomenal start. The staff members that are listed there, I will not read their names. However, the building leadership team, we meet weekly at 7 o'clock every morning on a Thursday. When I asked if they wanted to meet every other week, maybe for scheduling purposes, they quickly shut that down. They wanted to meet every week. They wanted to review the data. They wanted to get better. So that's a testament to their professionalism. The HQSD committee representatives, Corinne Ball, Alice Colucci, and Emily Long, we met the other day, and as we're learning the HQSD process, it's been eye-opening, but it's been a good experience for them, and we're working our way through that. The extended learning program staff are all listed there. For the most part, they're coming every night, or some of them are maybe coming 1 or 2 nights a week as they rotate due to family commitments. Our school counselor, Jessica George, has been phenomenal in helping with the extended learning lab along with all of her other duties that's been assigned. So I'd like to thank those staff members, also obviously my administrative colleagues, and welcome me to the district. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have high school principal Doug Weatherholt.
I might have to buy some time here because I see Mr. Markajon is just now starting to walk down. We're off to a pretty good start at the high school. I know we've overwhelmed you with data and everything people are doing, students are doing academically and after-school blended learning and all those things that are taking place. But a lot of times, schools are much more than just the academics that are taking place in the classroom, and there are things going on a day-to-day basis to try to let students enjoy coming to school, having activities, looking forward to different things that are going on. So we did have an activity day here. I'm buying time for Mr. Markajon, like I said. We did have activity day here on Thursday, September 30th. Students had the opportunity to explore extracurricular activities during their lunch periods. Activity allowed students to meet representatives from a variety of different groups at the school, including band, choir, theater, philanthropy club, Four Club, National Honor Society, fellowships of Christian athletes, key clubs, and courtyards. These things are very important to students because they allow them to be involved in school, not only in the classroom, but in activities that go beyond the classroom. So I'd like to give a thank you for that to the guidance department, Mrs. Ebacker and Mr. Amansky, for doing that, and the NHS students for making that possible.
This week's...
Oh, wait, Tone. I don't see it up there. So one of the things that happen for the students as we start the school year off is we always start the school off with parking lot painting. Then we go to Spirit Week, hallway decorations. We finally had a pep assembly. After 18 months, we had our first pep assembly. We have our drum line at our bands. We have our snow plows. We do a whole bunch of stuff. So a couple days ago, we found out that we were on Channel 8. So I'll let Channel 8 explain to you what Geneva High School's been up to.
Cool School takes us to Ashtabula County, the home of the Eagles.
Yeah, so Geneva High School has a lot that makes it a cool school. Students spend the last few days of summer break painting their parking spots. The school says it gives students a sense of ownership of the school and is a great bonding experience. Leading up to homecoming, it's Spirit Week. This year's theme was Pixar movies, and the juniors won with their Toy Story hallway decoration.
Students, yeah, very nice. Students played tug of war at the first pep rally in 18 months, and the cheerleaders helped to build the excitement before each football game. The student section coordinates a theme for the week, And the drum line is always a crowd favorite, especially with their cool LED lights. Now, inside the school, students have a range of activities, including theater, choir, academics. AP statistics students use their knowledge to determine the exact number of rubber bands to help Barbie have an exciting bungee jump.
Wow!
I want to thank the students and staff at Geneva High School for sharing some of what makes their school so very, very
They gave us a
cool.
great idea. We should paint our parking spots.
Go for it. This week's Cool School takes us to Ashtabula.
I think they do a much better job than I'm ever going to do. Students, make sure you get involved in a club or activity. Find something to do to make us very special to you. It's your experience. I'd like to thank Robert McCoy, Missy Hall, Rachel Blevins, and the PBIS class for putting all this together. They had 2 days to get something to Channel 8, and they did a fabulous job. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I happened to see that. I caught it when it was on.
Last but not least, we have Assistant Superintendent Scott Liebert.
Always have a tough act to follow. Thanks, Doug. So I'm going to talk about 4 different areas of things that we've been doing since the beginning of the school year. The first is high quality student data. That's what David talked about earlier. We had a recent committee meeting to go over the instruments we were going to use to determine if our teachers met HQSD for their first assessment. The workshop went very well, and our group had great discussions about assessments and how to provide constructive criticism to improve the next round of assessments. The high-quality student data instrument must meet all the following criteria. It has to align to learning standards, measure what is intended to be measured, be attributable to the specific teacher for the course and grade levels taught, demonstrate evidence of student learning in either achievement or growth, follow protocols for administration and scoring, provide trustworthy results, and not offend or be driven by bias. Again, that committee worked really hard. We were in a classroom all day and really plugged through all those and really did a great job and had great discussions. The next assessment is due on November 12th, and we'll be doing the same thing after that. The next thing I want to talk about are reading improvement plans. Under Ohio law, a school must create a RIMP for a student who is not on track, reading below grade level within 60 days of receiving the reading diagnostic results. The district must involve a student's parent or guardian and the classroom teacher in developing the plan. A RIMP must include the following: identification of the student's specific reading deficiency or deficiencies, a description of proposed supplemental instruction services that will target the student's identified reading deficiencies, opportunities for the student's parents or guardians to be involved in instructional services, a process to monitor the implementation of the student's instructional services, which is progress monitoring, a reading curriculum during the regular school hours that helps students read at grade level, provides scientifically based and reliable assessment, and provides initial and ongoing analysis of the student's reading progress. A statement that unless the student attains the appropriate level of reading competency by the end of the 3rd grade, that student will be retained unless otherwise exempt. The next thing I'm going to talk about are written education plans, which are WEPs, and our teachers, again, in middle school and high school where we service our gifted population, did a great job of getting those in on time and getting them to the families as well. Ohio Administrative Code 3301-5115 states that the operating standards for identifying and serving students who are gifted requires districts to provide each student who is receiving gifted services with a written education plan or WEP. That document outlines the goals of services for students who are gifted. These goals must include measurable academic goals, but may also include effective goals. The WEP must specify for parents the timeline and methods for reporting student progress toward the goals described in the WEP. Districts are required to develop a student's WEP in collaboration with an educator who has a license or endorsement in gifted education. Districts must provide parents, the collaborated educator, and all educators, responsible for providing gifted educational services with a copy of the WEP. Currently, we use iReady in the lower grades for gifted identification, and we are working on bringing in Iowas and COGATs to identify more kids earlier and also provide services for that age group as well. So those are things that we will have in place. The last thing I'm going to talk about is a little bit about the report card. The preliminary report card came out a while ago, and we all know, that there are things on there that we know we have to improve in. But there are two areas that I really want to talk about that I think we made that show great improvement. One is progress. The progress component looks closely at the growth that all students are making based on their past performance. There are 4 categories: all students, gifted students, the lowest 20%, and students with disabilities. Geneva schools, out of all the tested subject areas, ELA in 4 through 8 and 10th grade, math, and all the tested subjects met or exceeded the expected growth, either moderately or significantly, in all but 3 of those categories. So I think that's a great attribute to our teachers and what they are doing in the classroom that shows growth, and that's one thing that we want to see as we move forward. And the second thing that I want to talk about in the report card is the graduation rate. And the graduation rate component looks at the percentage of students who are successfully finishing high school with a diploma in 4 or 5 years. The 4-year graduation rate for Geneva was 94.9%. And that looks at all incoming freshmen from the class of 2016 through graduation in 2020. So 94.9% of our students graduated within that 4-year cohort, and that's incredible. The 5-year graduation rate measures the same thing, except for it goes back to the 2015 school year, and students that at least graduate within that 5th year counts towards your numbers as well, and we had 92.6%. So we're doing some pretty good things, some pretty great things, and we're going to continue to work hard to make the community proud and keep working on common goals. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I would like to say thank you to everybody here. Ton of data here that you presented. That's one of the things I always ask for. I think, when we have these meetings year after year, and as a school board member, it's just very, very important for us to see, more data, not less. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. So good job.
State report card update.
So to continue along the lines of Mr. Liebert, after the report card is released, the superintendent needs to give a report on the state report card. So I'm going to kind of start at the state level and then hone in at the district level. Share some other data points that Mr. Liebert didn't share because we knew we were both talking about this evening. But starting at the state level, the report card for the whole state, which is compiled by the Ohio Department of Education, certainly does highlight the effects of the pandemic on education. As a state, they saw a 3% decrease in enrollment. Much of it was in kindergarten and 1st grade. Chronic absences among almost a quarter of students across the state, and drops in testing proficiency rates of 8% in ELA, English Language Arts, and 15% in math. The state performance index dropped to 72.5% from 84.7% in 2018-19. Of course, it was not calculated in the 19-20 school year because of the cancellation of testing. So that's kind of a broad overview of the state level. Moving to our particular district, I took all of the state test scores across all the districts in the county and wanted to see where our district ranked. Because certainly academics is something that we focus on here in Geneva. So for chronic absenteeism rate, we ranked 3rd in the county. Our performance index, we ranked 1st in the county. For 3rd grade English language arts, we were 2nd. 3rd grade math, we were 3rd. 4th grade ELA, we were 3rd. 4th grade math, we were 4th. In all 3 tests at 5th grade, ELA, math, and science, we were 2nd in the county. 6th grade ELA, we were 2nd, as well as 6th grade math. 7th grade ELA, we were also 2nd. 7th grade math, we were 1st in the county. 8th grade ELA and math, we were 3rd in the county. And 8th grade science, we were 2nd. ELA 10, which is a high school end of course exam, we were 3rd. High school algebra 1, we were 2nd. High school geometry, we were 1st. High school biology and American history, we were 2nd. And high school government, we were 5th. I won't speak to progress because Mr. Liebert did, and as well as graduation rate, he spoke about as well. As far as improving our at-risk K-3 readers, last year they started with 241 students who were off track, and 27.8% of those moved to on track. We had 86.2% of students participate in the ACT test, and approximately a quarter of those earned a remediation-free score. So that's a little bit about the state level and our district level report card. Moving forward, House Bill 82 comes into play. So with House Bill 82, it replaces the A through F letter grade system for report cards. With the rating system, they're going to stars now. So the stars are going to indicate the school and district's overall performance and the performance on the individual components that are factored into the overall rating. The components will be rated from 1 to 5 stars, and then the overall rating for both the school or district will also use half stars. So it'll go 1, 1.5, so forth and so on. The rated components moving forward will include some of the same ones we've seen before: achievement, progress, gap closing, graduation. They're changing the name of the K-3 literacy to just early literacy. Prepared for Success will now be titled as College, Career, Workforce, and Military Readiness, although that component will not be rated initially. And then an overall rating for both schools and districts won't begin until the 22-23 school year. So while the report card certainly highlights the effects of the pandemic on academics, I think it is certainly worth pointing out that we are also seeing the effects of the pandemic on social skills, and more specifically, social integration back into the classroom for some of our students. So I would like to take 2 minutes to play the first part of this sound clip from the Director of the Department of Public Safety, Thomas Stickrath, who addresses this.
As Ohio's children go back to school, it is more important than ever that each student learns in an environment that is physically and emotionally safe. This past spring, we saw a rise in school fights, bomb threats, weapons and drugs on school premises, racial and discriminatory slurs and threats, and mental health needs. Knowing that we are bringing students and staff back into buildings, we need to remain vigilant and ensure preventative measures are in place across the school safety continuum to protect students and staff. I am joined by my colleagues at the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services and Ohio Department of Education today to stress the importance of meeting the physical and emotional needs of the whole child and our school staff as we return to the classroom.
There is no question this past year and a half has been hard. The pandemic caused great disruption in our lives, and the mental health toll has been steep. Even now, many of us struggle with pandemic fatigue and crave a return to more normal routines and connection to the people, places, and things we enjoy. The start of a new school year is a welcome opportunity for a fresh start and a time to consider how we can best support each other in the year ahead. As students and teachers return to the classroom, many for the first time in a long while, we recognize it may be stressful. The good news is that we know most kids will be resilient. Some will have a harder time than others, though. About 30% of students and adults will have longer-lasting emotional impacts from the pandemic. It's important to let students and staff know that it's okay to ask for help and to be ready to respond to those who need additional support. Anyone struggling is not alone. Help is available by talking to a counselor at school, by calling the Ohio Care Line at 1-800-720-9616, or texting the keyword for HOPE to 741-741, Ohio's crisis text line.
We are.
So I thought that was important to play because I think, again, it highlights some of the things that we're seeing in our schools with some of our students. I had the opportunity to attend a county resource fair recently, and there are a ton of resources available in the county. Just one that I want to highlight, which many of you may be familiar with already, is 211 Ashtabula County. So you can call, text, or email, and they will certainly help students and families connect with community, social, health, and human service programs and resources.
Okay, policy adjustments and changes. This is first reading?
Yes, so this is just a first reading of these. You'll see these again on next month's agenda in order to be approved.
Okay. I recommend approval for the attached aquatic center use agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Metzler,
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz,
Yes.
Mr. Arndt,
Yes.
Mr. Dana,
Yes.
and Ms. Fisher.
Yes. I recommend the following personnel for actions during the contract year 21-22.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Ortiz,
Yes.
Mr. Arndt,
Yes.
Mr. Dana,
Yes.
Ms. Fisher,
Yes.
and Mrs. Metzler.
Yes.
Okay. I recommend the following volunteer coach for the 21-22 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Arndt,
Yes.
Mr. Dana,
Yes.
Ms. Fisher,
Yes.
Mrs. Metzler,
Yes.
and Mrs. Ortiz.
Yes.
I recommend the following director be hired for the transportation maintenance.
Moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, what can you tell us about our new hire?
So he will be starting on Monday. He comes from Ashtabula County. He has a CDL. We had asked that the new person, I should say, get a CDL. He does have one. He'll have to get the different level endorsement on that. He comes with 10 years of supervisory experience. He's actually coming in tomorrow to meet some people, and then we'll be transitioning with Mr. Brigard, our bus supervisor, and head of maintenance.
Okay. Roll call?
Mr. Dana,
Yes.
Ms. Fisher,
Yes.
Mrs. Metzler,
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz,
Yes.
and Mr. Arndt.
Yes.
Okay, I recommend that the board recognize the indoor track and field 2021 season as presented in the attachment.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Ms. Fisher,
Yes.
Mrs. Metzler,
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz,
Yes.
Mr. Arndt,
Yes.
and Mr. Dana.
Yes.
I recommend the board approve the following resolution.
Moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Metzler,
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz,
Yes.
Mr. Arndt,
Yes.
Mr. Dana,
Yes.
and Ms. Fisher.
Yes. Okay, we've come to the other segment. Mrs. Metzler?
Yeah, briefly, excuse me, I just wanted to mention that at the end of September, I was welcomed into GPS for my regular visits monthly, and I was able to observe, well, I had a good discussion with Mrs. Guston prior to visiting the classrooms, and I basically asked her, you know, what are the effects of the shortage of bus drivers and the shortage of substitutes, and her answers were exactly what I expected them to be. I mean, it affects all of our schools, it affects all of our staff, but they are definitely picking up the slack, making adjustments to their classrooms, to their bus routes, so that they can make sure that they're getting their kids where they need to be in a timely manner. I was able to visit the kindergarten classroom of Mrs. Shepard, and I was able to briefly talk to her because she, for this year, and I don't know how many years in the past, but this year she has no aide in the classroom. I know when I visited there before, she did have an aide. There were some students or a student that had an aide, and that aide is able to help in the classroom for the teachers. She does not have an aide this year, and she noticed that their fine motor skills of some of the students were lacking. So to the point that Dr. Treharn made about social behaviors, there's also other ramifications of the pandemic having been around for a year and a half, where our kids may not be as prepared as they would have been had they had access to preschool. Maybe, you know, in some cases the kids are starting kindergarten a little bit older because it's likely that the parents didn't send them during the pandemic when there weren't really classrooms for them to attend. So she's noticing that type of issue in her classroom, and she, without an aide, is unable to do some of the things that she would typically do, like the small group work. So it's a challenge for the single teacher in her classroom of 18 kids that day to do all of the things that she's been doing for however many years to help these kids learn, and the challenges are already greater because they didn't have the preschool or the previous education or social skills to go into kindergarten. I also visited Mrs. Charles' second grade class. I calculated, and I mean, anybody can calculate it. These kids are in second grade, and the last time that they were actually in school for some of them was kindergarten, and that was the year that we stopped school in March. So there are challenges with that, with the social behavior and getting reacclimated to being in a classroom setting. And again, this is a teacher that at the time that I was there were no aides in the classroom. She had 23 students in the classroom. It's difficult, and I saw it firsthand, and I understand that that is a challenge for our district. It's not just the 2 classrooms that I saw, it's all of the classrooms in all of our schools. And finally, I visited Mrs. Burke's 5th grade class. 5th graders, a little bit more settled. They've been in school situations longer than some of these young kids, and maybe some of those social behaviors aren't as hard to have them remember when they're coming back to school this year full time. So I want to thank Mrs. Guston and her staff for welcoming me into the school again this year, and I plan to visit the middle school next week, and I think that that'll be an excellent visit. I'll be seeing some things that I haven't seen there before. No. So thank you.
Anyone else?
I have a report. So I first want to communicate, I appreciate the suggestion. I believe it was at the last board meeting from someone during the public comment section about adding quarantine numbers to our COVID dashboard. So if you follow that or peruse it, I did add the quarantine numbers to that dashboard, and as I get those numbers updated from the nurses, I certainly update those as well. If you were not at the last home football game, I wanted to share we did receive a $500 check for our athletic department presented by Sergeant Anthony of the Marine Corps from District 1. And certainly also want to thank our athletic director, Ms. Crosley, for her efforts on this. Previously, I had talked about the emergency connectivity funds. We had applied for a little bit over $115,000, and we got notice that we should, is the key word, should be awarded a little over $112,000. So the only part of that the district would have to pick up is approximately $2,500, which is the yearly cost for the filter we have on our hot spots. So once we get the official notice on that, I will certainly communicate that, but in the interim, I certainly want to thank Mr. Burgard again for all of his time and efforts in obtaining that for us. Another program I wanted to mention, the National Child Identification Program. So Attorney General Yost, with the support of the American Electric Power, will provide every first grade student in the state of Ohio with a child identification kit. So statistics show that more than 800,000 children go missing in America each year, and yet most parents, they say, do not have a copy of their children's fingerprints to use in the case of an emergency. So what this kit would allow us to do is provide these to parents so that they could collect the specific information and record the physical characteristics and fingerprints of their child on these ID cards that are then kept at home by the parent and or guardian. So only the parent or guardian would have a copy of this, and then, of course, if that would ever be needed, and we hope it wouldn't, the ID kit would give authorities that vital information that they would need to hopefully assist them in their efforts to locate the missing child. So we are scheduled to get these kits in November, and as soon as we get them, we will distribute them. Again, these are to be completed at home and stay at home with the parent or guardian. Next, I wanted to touch upon some positive news. So I was very excited to do our first month of Soaring Eagles, which was a recognition program that I had talked about previously. So these will get posted tomorrow on social media, but I wanted to share them first at the board meeting. So each building, if you don't recall, I visit starting this month of the school year, and a Soaring Eagle is chosen as staff or student member of that building is chosen to represent that building for that month. They get a positive phone call home, which was very nice to make those contacts to whomever the child wanted me to call. They get their picture posted on social media. They get a Soaring Eagle backsack, which again, I want to thank the Academic Booster Club for sponsoring those, and they will be recognized at a future board meeting. So starting at Austinburg, if she's here, I would love it if she stood. We have 5th grade teacher Lisa Nugent, who was the Soaring Eagle at Austinburg, chosen by Principal Mrs. Berzanko. Mrs. Berzanko reported that Mrs. Nugent is very involved and serves on PBIS, DLT, safety, and was a previous head teacher. Lisa stays after school each day and reports on the weekends. She also works multiple sporting events for the high school, and Mrs. Berzanko said that she certainly appreciates all that Mrs. Nugent does. At Cork, our Soaring, yes, please clap. At Cork Elementary, Mrs. Bowser chose 2nd grader Silas Kinney. She chose Silas because he has a great attitude and is striving to be the best student he can be. His positive and keep trying attitude is paying off, and he has earned passing scores on his accelerated reader quizzes. So congratulations to Silas. At GPS, 4th grader Gabriella Cole was chosen by Mr. Bryan. He said that she was chosen for the great example she sets to students each and every day. She is always following directions and working extremely hard during class. Even if she is struggling with a skill or concept, she attempts to do the work and is not afraid to ask for help. Finally, he shared that Gabby is always helpful and cares and shows compassion towards others. At the middle school, Mrs. Hrina-Treharn chose Lucas Tidwell. She shared she couldn't really just find one thing to say because he's an amazing student in so many ways. Lucas is very kind and helpful. He works hard every day when he comes to school. He has a positive attitude even when something may be challenging, and he never gives up. Lucas has progressed so much in just the first 4.5 weeks of the school year at the middle school. Lucas is a great friend and helper in the classroom. She ended by saying how proud she was of Lucas and that he is both responsible and trustworthy. And lastly, at the high school, senior Kennedy Landris was chosen by Mrs. Blevins. She reported that Kennedy is the epitome of SOAR behavior. She promotes school spirit and builds positive relationships by running the student section Twitter page and being actively involved in a number of school organizations. Kennedy is also extremely reliable and always willing to take on any task, no matter how challenging. And then as of this morning, I had one addition. So I did share this with the principal, but she's the only one that knows at this point. I received an email from U.S. News and World Report, and I'll just share two of the sentences of that notification. They state, "We recently published our first ever rankings of public elementary schools, and the news is good for Austinburg Elementary School. Your school placed among the top 30% of elementary schools in the state of Ohio, making it a U.S. News Best Elementary School." So congratulations to the staff, students, and Mrs. Brezento.
Anyone else have other? Okay, now we're at the next hearing of the public. Would you like me to read the paper again?
Who was the
We
one
have
woman?
30 minutes.
Who was the one woman who wanted to speak?
She
go
left.
first? She left.
Oh, there she is.
So we have 30 minutes for this session of
There's that guy in that suit.
public
Is he leaving?
information. And like before, please state your name and address.
Hello, and thank you for finally hearing me. My name is Connie Klein Hart. I live at 660 Eastwood Street, Geneva, Ohio. As a matter of fact, our former superintendent just lives kitty corner from me. Found a beautiful home in Geneva. So. Okay. It is with much gratitude that I was able to teach at my hometown and school, retiring over 30 years serving in elementary and middle school settings. I was fortunate to have worked with encouraging and helpful peers. Thank you all. Today, I am simply a citizen of the Geneva community who has 2 grandchildren attending Geneva schools. It is the love of our school system that compels me to come forward to say what is on my mind. I've had many concerns about our schools that have festered inside for several years, and now that I'm retired, I feel free to discuss them. However, with only the 5 minutes allotted me, I cannot address them all. And by the way, I just kind of felt a little insulting when you dismissed me. I have been a part of Geneva's school system since 1957. Either as a student, a mother, grandmother, and teacher, but 1957 is when my career started with Geneva schools. So, thank you. If you would enter any classroom, office building, or even ride a bus, you would find hardworking and dedicated staff at all levels of employment. But it is our teaching staff that I am most passionate about today. In my many years of working at Geneva schools, I had never experienced such low morale as I witnessed today. Everyone is doing their jobs professionally, as you would expect, but it's been difficult at times when one does not feel appreciated, seen, or heard. We are not talking about those teachers you hear about in the news who have refused to come in to teach, do their jobs, blame COVID, safety issues, or even laziness. These are not teachers with radical views on education. You have teachers who have risked their health and come in to teach or coach. You have teachers who dedicate themselves to being the best they can be by taking additional classes to further their effectiveness in maintaining high quality in their profession. You have coaches who spend more of their off-the-clock time with their players than their pay grade provides, and that's dedication. For several years, when our district faced huge cuts by the state, GATA and OPSI understood the hardships the school board was dealing with. For years, teachers have canvassed the neighborhoods, some of us for many different causes, to promote much needed levies. And you know what? The community came through for us and passed them. Thank you. We have agreed to little or no raises, no appropriate cost of living increases, cuts into our hospitalization, and reluctantly stood by as programs and extracurriculars for students were slashed. For example, our music department is still feeling the effects from their cuts. The elementary band program still remains a victim of the cut. The elementary age is where our students become enthusiastic about participating in band. 20 years ago, before the cuts, our band was the pride of the county and the community. Marching over 100, and what has happened? I can say, knowing how teachers think and feel, that they want to be respected for the dedication and high quality they provide for their students. You are asking teachers to teach their classes in the building at the same time they would teach online. This is not acceptable for many reasons, among which is reducing student privacy and reducing quality of teaching.
30 seconds, please.
Okay. I might also add your recent hirings within administration from out of our area do not know or understand how our community thinks and feels. They do not care. If they do not care to live among us, they miss the opportunity to get to know the people that they're serving.
I'm sorry, but the 5 minutes is up.
Are you serious? Are you really serious? You're going to dismiss me, who has been a part of Geneva schools since 1957.
I'm sorry, but the 5 minutes
And I've
is up.
known many, many school board members. I've known many school board members throughout the years, and I don't remember school boards treating the public this way.
You're smarter than me.
Okay, I'll respect that. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is John Gildersleeve. I live at 248 Appaloosa Trail, Madison, Ohio. I graduated Geneva High School 2017. For some of you that are here, my name is familiar. My mother is a teacher. My mother-in-law is a guidance counselor, a former teacher here in this high school. I went to high school here. I literally bled red and gray. Quite literally broke my body for this school. I had the utmost respect for this school. Now, I had the privilege, so to say, to understand the inner workings of this. By who I am, I understand how this works. Not that I greatly agree with it, but it is what it is. So, your middle school does not have wrestling coaches right now. Am I correct? Correct? Okay. I could have went to college to wrestle. I could apply for your coaching position. I will not. I do not want to coach here. My son is 2 years old, will not go to school in Geneva under these circumstances. I was in college during COVID. I did online schooling. If you honestly think that it works, you are so sadly mistaken, it's not even funny. Do you honestly think that a kid in junior high, middle school, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, all the way through high school can't work Google? I mean, come on. This is the 21st century. You're sitting at school on a laptop on your couch. You can work multiple tabs sitting at your desk. What makes you think they can't work multiple tabs at their computer? Cheating was an issue when I was in high school on paper. On a laptop, 10 times easier. Online schooling does not work. Won't work. Can't work. Coming from somebody who's done it, it does not work. That's about it. That's all I got. Thank you.
My name's Charlie Lechner, Leightner. I have 3 women in my family that are in 3 different schools at Geneva, just like Mark Wenzel. One question I have about this whole library remodel thing that does affect my oldest daughter: what's wrong with the house on the hill? The address was previously mentioned by a young lady at the beginning of the meeting. Is it not zoned right? Did somebody on the board screw up when they bought the house, if that's how it was purchased? Yeah, that's part of the reason I came to the meeting, when to ask this question. If it is zoned inappropriately, have you guys applied for variance? If you haven't applied for a variance and it's possible to get one, shame on you. But why spend money taking away a library when there's a building up there? You gave a lot of reports on how good our schools are doing. That's in part to the good teachers that we have been involved in since my kids have been in kindergarten. I don't know all the ins and outs of this bargaining stuff, but it sounded like they weren't that worried about the money, about how high their salaries were, that you said to us 4 or 5 times. Maybe you want to listen to what they're really worried about. As far as online learning, I just graduated from Bowling Green. Online learning to become a teacher. Yeah, when you got questions at 11:30 that night and your papers due at midnight, you can't get a hold of the teacher. You can't ask her on your way out the door. Online learning kind of stinks. Are we going to go all in, or are we going to make them do part one way and part the other? I'm a teacher in prison. It works if you're in person. I can't teach online because I'm in prison, and frankly, I wouldn't want to. And I don't think our teachers really want to do it either.
Good evening. My name is Bonnie Cooper. I live at 185 Roosevelt Drive. I have been a teacher for 34 years in another district, so I do have some comparisons that I can make. First, I want to thank the whole district, the board, the teachers, the buildings. There are amazing people out here. We have 2 graduates of Geneva. They are doing awesome in the next phase of their life. And it's because of these people helped us raise them. And I will be forever grateful for that. I think one of them might be on your sub list tonight. Sarah Arth, she just agreed to substitute nurse for you guys because she realized there was such a need. So she loves it. Mrs. Guston, she loves you already. Mrs. Doherty, she loved seeing you. They are good people because of this district. We thank you. The second thing I'd like to address is I've been very lucky. The district I work in, they asked me to teach Zoom and in person for all of about a minute, and they realized it's not good. And I invite any of you to sit down, because I don't want to take up everyone's time here. I invite each of you, an open invitation, to sit down with me over a cup of coffee and tell you what it's like to be in the classroom these days. It's tough. Mrs. Metzler, thank you for talking about how tough it is. Please, thank you for sharing that clip. The social and emotional needs of your teachers and students, it's real. The COVID slide, the gaps caused by these kids being out of school, It's real. These people are suffering. Don't make it harder on them. Don't make them fight for the things that should just come. This isn't the time to be taking things away from them. This is the time to be applauding them, supporting them, putting them up on a platform and saying, thank you. What can we do to make your life better? The last thing, and I want to get out of here, this is another hard one for me. My family was personally approached, mainly because of my husband, not me, and said, will you help us with the levy, the income tax levy that you just passed not too long ago? We need you out there, Coopers. We need you help. We did it. We knocked on doors. I can't tell you how much I hated it. We knocked on doors. We stood beside these people and made phone calls. Our message was the same every time. Strong schools, strong community. Strong schools, strong communities. Help us. This is our home. We're proud of it. We could have moved somewhere else. We didn't want to. We want to be here. But as I make my bi-monthly contribution, because that levy did pass, in fact, you'll get my money as of today, I expect you to be spending that money on these people, on these resources that they need. Spend that money. And then finally, just to recap what some other people have said, at the end of the day, you want to attract good people. You don't want to pick the only candidate that showed up for the job. You want to pick the best candidate from a whole bunch of people. You're going to limit yourselves. People are going to go, because I can tell you, every district in every county around you and every school is begging for people. And they're going to go where the better package is. Make the best package here. Make Geneva the best. Make your teachers feel good. Give them a fair contract, and don't make them beg for it. And again, the open invitation for coffee, I promise it's there for any of you. I will sit and talk with you until I can't talk anymore about how tough it is right now. It's tough. Thank you.
All right, hello. My name is Rachel Blevins. I live at 3538 State Route 193 in Dorset. I'm a teacher here at the high school. My children are open enrolled in this district. I am the secretary of GATA, and I felt it was very, very important that I make some clarifying statements, because the board seems to be under the misconception that we are upset about money. It is not about money. It is not about money. We agreed on wages a long time ago. We agreed on some insurance language a long time ago. The proposals that you are making are about the quality of the education we are providing for our students, and we are not providing what we need to attract people to this district. You know that to be true. If you truly believe it's about money, you have been lied to. Ask the hard questions, find out what we're upset about, because it is not money. You guys spent a lot of time up here talking about test scores, comparing our test scores to other districts' test scores. I would like to point out a couple things about those test scores. First off, none of those districts that we came in second to did online and in-person learning at the same time last year. None of them. There is a place for online learning. We have students in our district who desperately need online learning due to the circumstances. They're awesome kids. We are not serving them appropriately with the model that we have in place right now. They deserve better than what we are offering them. One other thing I'd ask you to look into is you're comparing test scores with other districts in our county. We're coming in first here and there. We're coming in second. We're coming in third. Compare the extracurriculars they're offering. Compare the clubs they have in place. Compare the mental health services that they're offering to their students that we are not offering, because we cut, and then we say, why can't you do better? We can't do better because you won't provide better. You won't give us the resources we need to do better for our kids. I know some of you have children in this district who have come through this district. Our kids are amazing. Our students are phenomenal in all of the things, in the classroom, outside of the classroom. And I am begging you as a board to do your job, listen to your constituency, listen to your students, listen to your teachers, get to the bottom of this. It's not about money. Figure out why we're angry, listen to what we have to say, and do better.
Hello. If we could just hold applauses till we're done because we're on a time constraint and I don't want to get cut off. But my name is Deborah Wigmiller. I live at 4119 Rome Rock Creek Road in Rock Creek, Ohio. So I am not in Geneva, but my son is open enrolled through Cork in preschool. I open enrolled him to come through the Geneva district because I graduated from here in 2006. I currently am a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner, where I absolutely am super happy to be part of. I bring that to your attention because before I graduated from here, I did the work release program with Mr. Ellis. I absolutely loved him and all of the teachers. They helped me to be where I'm at today. And they advocated for me and did what I needed to do. So I have mad respect for anybody that stood up here, any parents, any teachers, the kids that came out, because all of you are absolutely amazing, and that's what needs to be heard today. I say that as when I went through school, I did not think I would make it to where I am today, and I am very happy, but I would never have been here without the school here, which is why I drive my son almost 30 minutes every day to and from school for preschool to start, and then he will continue on his education. And the fact that I heard about all this going on, and it is so sad as a parent that I'm driving my son out here because I believe in this district, I believe in the teachers, all these parents that are here and the ones that are standing outside want to be here, okay? So, with all that being said, I could have taken a total different turn in my life like my sibling did that became an addict and everything else, but I did not do that. And I'm sorry, I keep looking at you, but I'm addressing everybody. I did not do that because I had the support from this school. If we don't offer support to our teachers, how do we expect our kids to grow up and be successful and have good lives and have good morals? But if we're not doing that as board members for our teachers that need this help, where are our kids gonna be? So I say this, and please don't look at just today. Your decisions that you're making for these teachers and these students and these parents, it's not affecting just today. You're affecting next year, the year after, all these kids that are about to graduate, the ones that are coming up. My son that's gonna graduate from here, that I hope to. But if this continues, I will pull him out and send him 5 minutes down the road to the school that's by me. I brought him here for a reason, many reasons. It is what these teachers offer, what the school offers. The cuts, everything that you're doing, they're not gonna get that. And when we talk about mental health needs, I'll tell you, and this is something that when you lay down tonight, you think about this stuff. How many of these students that are gonna come out of this school and you keep cutting all these things for these teachers, you will have no teachers here. You will have bare minimum teachers taking the jobs because they have nowhere else to go. You will have nobody here. And then the quality of students that you're gonna have from here, they're not gonna be graduating, they're gonna be addicted to drugs, they're going to be having mental health needs, and then they'll be in offices and have all these other issues. Socially, educationally. So it doesn't just start with just the teachers. They are advocating for our children. And you know what? To stand up here as a parent, as a teacher, as a student is absolutely terrible. And I know you guys have absolutely hard jobs too. I would not want to be on the other side of it. But if I was in your shoes, I would be so proud of every single person that stood up here advocating for the future of them and the future of you guys. Because when you talk about the doors closing and funding's not here and all that, you're not going to have any students here if these teachers walk out and they strike and they're not here to help us. Or then later on in life, you're dealing with mental health needs. Because during COVID, you know what? My oldest, he did 1.5 years of online teaching. Let me tell you what online teaching was. They sent him Google assignments, and he just did whatever. He had depression and everything else. So you think about when these kids that are 13, 14 years old, they start getting depression and they're ending up in counseling services and they're ending up in, seeing people every week because they can't deal with depression, anxiety. You're opening up a whole nother can of issues. So I just urge you to please listen. They said they're not talking about salary. They don't care. They're talking about other things. Insurances. Me and my husband just got married long ago. I've been with him for years, and you know what happened? His place of work took me on months after we were together. This is years ago. We didn't have to have all these like exclusions and all that. I'm just asking, please keep an open mind. See
30 seconds, please.
See what is in your contract that you can change for them, because you know what? Ultimately, it affects everybody, and it affects your jobs too in your life. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Deborah Quinn. I live at 137 North Avenue. I work at Honeywell Corporation at 436 North Eagle Street here in Geneva. I'm the president of the local union. We have over 300 members, which we will back the teachers union. I want to address some of the things that were said by the gentleman up there. He talked about the teacher salaries being the highest in the district and all this. Well, you said we gave them raises for all 3 years, but when you start taking cuts, when you start making them pay more for co-pays, more for insurance, when you start putting their spouse, making them go somewhere else, which you don't know what their co-pays are, what their deductibles are, they're taking a cut. They're not getting anywhere. And with the economy the way it is, it's not going to help them. They need to be concentrating on their classroom, their students. They need to help them. They can't do that if they're worried about where the money. You said $63,000, that's gross. What about what they're taking home? By the time they pay for their insurance, they pay for their taxes, they're not taking home $63,000. My daughter is a teacher at Geneva Schools, and I am so proud of her. Her name's Tammy Quinn. She's been a teacher here for many years. She not only teaches here, but she gives back to her students. She buys some of their school supplies out of her money. If they have to watch what they're doing, they're not doing that anymore. I really urge you to look at what you're doing and go back to the table and negotiate with them. The kids need these teachers. I have had parents come up to me for many years telling me how blessed they were to have Tammy as a teacher. All these teachers. We have a good school system. I don't understand why anybody would want to start to crumble it. And when I was told, I didn't know about the library. I just found out about the library. When an office takes precedence over a book, we're losing. I'm sorry. I grew up reading books, not online, not Googling. There's nothing like having books. There's nothing like going into a library and studying, researching, and you can't do that with an office there. I'm sorry, it's wrong. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Aaron Wilkinson. I was a 2021 Geneva graduate, and I reside at 160 Chestnut Street, Geneva, Ohio. By looking around the room, most, if not all, of my teachers, most, if not all, of my teachers who have changed my life and inspired me to do the best I can with my life have left the room. And I'm here to talk for the students that are left behind to move on up in the graduating class. I'm sorry, I don't present at all. I've grown up in these buildings. I was proud to have the opportunity to graduate from the Geneva district, but now I pity those who have to walk in my steps and down the halls that I had once grown up in. I grew up in these buildings, from going out to Mrs. Doherty's cork building. In the old building, when we didn't have garbage cans because there were so many leaks in our roof that we had to stack up garbage cans on our desk because of maintenance and neglect. I've witnessed new buildings being created and all of these new schools being built in our city. Friends and family members that I have that have graduated from Geneva themselves, I'm sad to say, have moved away and will never return here. Lastly, when I made it to high school, I decided to join the wood shop and home maintenance program, graduating with the honor of the Golden Hammer, which is a trophy gained by the best workmanship in our woodshop department. When I had first started that program, we had old, worn out, and beat down machines that were outdated and in many cases very dangerous for the students to use. By looking inside of the woodshop today, you may not believe what I'm saying, but that money was not ours. All of that money that was given to us was acquired through ATEC, which upsets me a lot. And I was very shocked to find out that we have decided to spend this $200,000 to destroy a room in the building which I personally had used quite often in learning. I believe that the house that is built, that was bought on the property should be used for what it was bought for, or the property planned to use, instead of destroying the kids' personal learning space, as designed, and as I previously said, the property on the building, or on the property on the premises should be used for that. Or perhaps the new superintendent could use her own personal money to move in there and become a resident of Geneva. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Eric Davis. I live at 3107 South Myers Road. I am currently here at Geneva High School as a junior, and I would like to voice my personal concerns from not only my perspective, but as a student here at Geneva, but also as a citizen. I've seen the rough draft plan of the new Board of Education office that would replace the Media Center here at Geneva High School. I have two opinions on this matter that I would like to address to the board. I would like to know why we're wasting $200 grand worth of our district money for something that does not help further educate our students or help our teachers be able to better educate our students. This is also showing what's going on in regards to what the new superintendent and the Board of Education would like to spend our tax money on, what they want to use the money that the district has received from our issues regarding our COVID-19 pandemic. This does not show a good example to our students or teachers of how the Board of Education and our new superintendent would like to use this money. This project, in my opinion, is a waste of money, time, and resources, and the project proposal should be scrapped as is. The second thing regarding this is why can't the money, $200 grand, be used to help with the negotiating between the Board of Education and our Geneva teachers, instead of using a costly amount of money for an unnecessary project that hinders our education. One of my most biggest concerns is how our teachers are being treated by the superintendent and the Board of Education. You say that you are trying to get to agreeable terms, and while it's hard for me to fully believe that you as a board are trying to compromise for our teachers, and I hate to say it, but I don't really see that, nor the effort on your end of the negotiations. Our teachers have done so much for us students, me included, including my mother, who is no longer with us. The teachers, like I said, have made multiple sacrifices and compromises to you guys and for us students, but it has grown old. I, for one, after graduating, plan on going to college to get my major education in education, my major degree in education. I highly had considered coming back to my hometown, Geneva, who I've been here since I was born, to teach and even be alongside old teachers. But with this situation and mistreatment of our teachers, this makes me question of whether I would most likely wanting to come back to this school district. Because I know if I was a teacher, I would not accept this treatment. The situation I also want to mention is being watched by multiple districts in and out of our county, including Rootstown local schools. I would like to wonder how they feel about this, because I have seen multiple pictures of all teachers in all the different districts wearing red and white in support of our teachers. I privately talked with a few teachers, and while, of course, none of the teachers said anything due to privacy reasons, which I respect, I was able to easily tell by their actions and tones that they have had enough. Our teachers should not be silenced, and teachers should not be treated poorly by our new superintendent or Board of Education. I also want to admit, if Mr. Cugelo was here right now, he would be very unhappy and disappointed in what is happening within our district. I want to end this by noting that the teachers who are here tonight, these teachers are the ones who keep your school buildings open. The teachers who educate the students who shape your future, the teachers that keep the school district alive and breathing. If both the superintendent and the Board of Education do not come up with an agreement in which our teachers are to accept, our school doors will be at a risk of being shut and locked, halting and highly compromising the students' education, and our school district will slowly fade away into something it should not be. I hope both the Board of Education and Superintendent take this into consideration, and I therefore would like to give you note that the next decisions you make regarding this will change our district regardless of what is said, regardless of the decisions that are made, because it will either be for the better or for the worst. Because our students depend on our teachers to give us the best quality of education. Thank you.
Okay. If I may just interrupt here for 1 minute. Our time is up. However, we will like to hear what the last 3 people in line have to say. The line will not grow any longer. So you 3, if you could like to give your comments, we'd like to hear them. Thank you.
My name is Brock Pearson. I live at 196 South Broadway, Geneva, Ohio. I'm a 2010 graduate, barely, of Geneva High School. I have tested these teachers enough that they've probably earned their salaries 3 times over. I then took that frustration and went to Lake Erie College and graduated top of my class, speaker of my class, and now work at a top 300 law firm. The other people who also did the research in the building that is being reallocated for your new office work at NASA, Google, and the other one travels around doing different types of internal firing engines in Boeing and other different aeronautic engineering standards. My brother, Andrew Cozy, a graduate of last year, is also following in their footsteps with that type of education and is also majoring in the University of Akron with aeronautic engineering at his heel. The past 5 years, I've had to supplement my brother's education in a way that is unacceptable. My mother's been a teacher here for 36 years. I've been begging her to retire so she does not have to put up with the proposals that you constantly throw our way. Working at a law firm, when I have to read the clauses and read the education parameters that are put in place, not by the state, not by the federal government, by you, there is a clear lack of communication between this board, between the administrators, and between the staff and faculty that work together to make this community amazing. I've absolutely had it with the arrogance and authoritarian behavior that is displayed by the people in front of me. You are good friends of mine, but I have absolutely had it. We were asked to question our authority, and that authority and those different points, that obscurity, it's hard. It's hard to have those conversations. In the past 2 years, I don't think many people online, Facebook, have agreed on much, but you guys have done a fantastic job bringing this community together for one common goal.
My name is Owen Schrader. I live at 1070 Sherman Street, Geneva, Ohio. I'm just a fellow student here with all the other students, and I was walking out of school today, and I was kind of surprised because I had to use the restroom, at the end of the day. And the bathroom was closed over here, and I was like, okay. And then I went to that bathroom, and that was also closed. And then I go all the way over there, and the bathroom's closed. And I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Well, the bathroom way over there has always been closed. It's been closed like last year because of destruction or something. But so me and my friend who was going right to cross-country practice, we had to go outside all the way to the porta potty just to use the restroom after school. And we were thinking, why are these things happening here? It's like, the main thing is, I think this one, luckily, there was a teacher there, but there was a fight that I walked by, and it seemed like there was almost a fight in this one. But luckily, we had one of our teachers there. I think Mr. Clemens was there to stop it. And over there, I think there was destruction, like people were destroying stalls or sinks or something. And over there also has been destruction throughout the years. And we're thinking, what is the problem here? And me and some friends in bio class today, we were talking about some solutions to things like this. And it's something as simple as bathrooms, but the students here, we're high schoolers. We need stimulation in our mind throughout the day. And some of the students that don't get that stimulation as much from the education, the great education that these teachers provide, some of maybe the kids that get lower grades than everyone else, they are looking for stimulation throughout their day, looking for things to do. but all they do is sit at a desk all day. So the things they resort to is going in the bathroom with their friends, breaking things, starting fights, and vaping, and doing whatever else they want, because that is the only thing that they can do throughout the day, that they have the freedom to do, which they really don't. But it's their only way of getting something to do, because that's what they do for fun. But you know, there's this big old space in the high school that what Jacob brought up over here. It was about the STEM lab. There's this huge open opportunity we have the money to provide a space for students to, if we made like a STEM lab, a lounge place, maybe like a pool table or something, for students to just relax and hang out and enjoy school and get their brain off of just these other ways, these other outlets of them wanting to do something, being antsy all day, so they go and cause trouble. What if there was a place in the media center where we had the STEM lab, a place for students to use that as their outlet? Maybe be inspired by these projects that they could be doing in STEM-related projects, and relax, chill out, and just like enjoy school, and spark a love for school in these students that are generally hate being here and are trying to get here, graduate as quick as possible. Something like that would be just an amazing opportunity for these students to maybe just start enjoying something here. And it would definitely lead to, if you guys are looking for the test scores for us, maybe that lower end of students, maybe them wanting to be here at school will get their test scores up a little bit, and instead of just using that as a space for students to be locked out of by key and door throughout the day, maybe we can open that up for students to do something and to be inspired.
Hi, my name is Audrey Pate. I live at 1976 Behringer Place in Geneva. The positive from tonight is that the elementary school where both of my children have attended is number 2, or in the top. You know, that is fantastic, amazing news. And if Geneva wants to be able to be proud of that and continue to say things like that and promote that, you better keep these teachers in this building. You need to compromise. You need to budge. But you need to keep these teachers in that building for our students, because they are breaking their backs to teach our kids. They are going above and beyond what they are contractually, obligated to do throughout our pandemic over the last couple of years. I can't say enough good things about them. We came here 7 years ago. We're not from here. I'm from North Carolina. My husband came from the military. He got out, and I dug my heels in, and I said, we will not leave this area. Our kids are thriving. This school district is amazing. I have no reason to stay if these teachers are not still in my kids' lives. I hate the snow. It sucks. There's no fresh seafood here. But we stayed because I believed in this school district, and I did not want to leave here with that community that we felt after 15 years in the military and moving all the time. I've never felt more connected to my kids' schools. That's all I've got.
Okay. I recommend that the board hold an executive session for the purpose of considering the appointment, employment, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official, and preparing for, conducting, or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment. We will not be having any action tonight, and we will not be returning. Thank you for attending.
I'll move.
Second.
Roll call.